set the record, who is going to bring in LaVerne Thompson. She's going to, LaVerne was here earlier. She interviewed Vanessa Riley, but this is her time to come in as LaVerne Thompson and to tell us a little bit about LaVerne. And is Ursula on tomorrow? Yes, so this
No.
time is yes, you are on tomorrow.
Wait, I am?
Doing Olivia Gaines.
Oh, wow, I did not notice that. I better go back and look. Because I was supposed to be on as Ursula this morning. I hosted Vanessa as Ursula.
No, you did her as LaVerne Thompson. But either way, you got to keep your ego straight. Because I'm just saying. But whatever. Anyway, that was different. So this is, you get to do your author thing at this time. So I'm going to turn it over to Karen, who has had some serious health challenges in there. But here's the thing I love about Karen is that despite everything that's been going on with her, she has never missed a deadline. She's been through chemo, 2 sessions, 2 rounds of several weeks of it. Her word count, her count being off, the legs getting some. She has never offered any excuses. She has never been late with a manuscript or missed a deadline. None of that. And then working 9 to 5 and then do all of this, take care of mom, take care of all. There is a lot that I admire about her in that. And she says, I always try to get everything in early because I never know what's going to happen. And her process is, and she pushes balls to the wall, feet to the fire each and every time. And I learn a lot from her. So I'm going to turn it over to Karen, because she's going to be doing the interviewing of LaVerne Thompson. So take it away, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hello, I am Karen D. Bradley, the author of Night of South Holland, and I'm happy to introduce to everyone LaVerne Thompson. LaVerne is a USA Today bestseller. She writes contemporary, fantasy, science fiction, romances. She also writes romantic suspense and new adult under the pen name of Ursula Sinclair. She's here to chat with us tonight. And my first question to her is, why did you decide to update and re-release Chances Are?
Chances Are was actually the second book I ever published. So, 40 books later, a lot has changed. That particular book has not been available to the public for several years. I think the last time may have been 2012. And I always wanted to re-release it, but I kept releasing new stuff and it kept getting pushed down. And then COVID happened. And like a lot of authors during that time, I struggled to write. The creativity was stifled. And so I pulled it out and I started reworking it a little bit and I made it a little more modern. And there's a part of the story that I closed off. So it's truly a standalone. It's not part of a series. It's just one book you can read from beginning to end. Characters, arc, it's over. They have their happily ever after. But there was a side story a little bit that involved the main character's sister. And I wanted to clean that up a little bit. And so that's what I did. I tied a nice little bow on that for the readers. So that was a COVID project. And plus I wanted to change the cover.
Out of all of your books, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I'm very much a fantasy author. So I would say I have favorites. So but under Ursula, my favorite is the Ballerina series, The Ballerina and the Fighter, because my youngest daughter used to be a classically trained ballerina, and I always wanted to write a story about ballet. And so that's my favorite under Ursula. Under LaVerne, I would have said Dragon's Heart, except now, this is now my favorite, Wild Child, which is an urban fantasy. And for the first time, I have a solo female and a Black female on my cover, because that particular story is about a woman's journey and she's the central character. So that's, I think, why it's now my favorite book. Because it's a woman.
Okay. My next question to you, if you knew back then when you first started writing what you know now, what would you have done differently?
I'm not exactly sure I would necessarily have done a lot differently. I think because I made the decisions that I did, I was able to grow as an author, as a person. My stories are richer as a result. So I'm not, the only thing that I would change maybe with the very first publisher I ever signed with, I may not have given them quite as many books, because when we parted ways, it was a fight to get all my books at the time. So that may be the only change that I would make. But again, it's a process and I learned from it. And as a result, I decided to become an indie author. So if I hadn't gone through that, I may not have made that transition to indie. So no, I don't really have many regrets.
What do you feel is the most challenging part of being an author?
Finding the time to write. Even though I'm a full-time writer, you spend a lot of time marketing, you spend a lot of time doing research, and then you have to kind of sit down and put it all together. And I'm like Kasana, I'm a pantser. I'm really not one of those people that do outlines. For me, by the time I'm done an outline, I could have finished half the book. And plus, I've tried to do outlines, and what happens is, like what happened with Kasana, suddenly one of the characters starts saying something else, and it's like, well, wait a second, that's not part of this story. Where did that come from? So my outlines are very, very loose. They're very fluid because I know my characters. Sometimes I might start writing and I realize that what I've just written is actually the center of the story, not the beginning of the story. So now I got to go back and write the beginning of the story to get to that center plot. So it's, yeah, I can't write from beginning to end. I don't always write that way. Sometimes I do. It just depends on the character and the story.
What do you feel is the best advice that you were given on your journey as a writer?
To keep writing, to not stop. The first time I ever joined a critique group and I got a critique back was eye-opening. It was, at first I was highly insulted because I thought I knew how to write and that these people didn't know what they were talking about. That was the first reaction, because it came back covered red, like it was bleeding. And then I stopped. After I had my little thing, I stopped, I slowed down, took a deep breath, and then I went back through it. And I learned so much. And then I thanked them afterwards. And so now when I critique someone for the first time, one of the first things I tell them is that this is your universe. You are the master of this world. All I am doing is letting you know my first thoughts to make sure you thought of it, and then you can move on. You take what you want, you discard the rest, because that's what I do. And that was the advice I was given. Take what you want, what you need, and discard the rest. And never stop. And the other thing, the other advice is that I got was, if you ask someone to critique something for you and it doesn't come back covered in red, don't ask that person to critique you again, because they're not doing you they're doing you a disservice. And it's not that they're not necessarily that what they have to say was bad about the book or found problems, but the book didn't even move them enough for them to make positive comments like, oh, that was so funny, or, oh, I love that he did that. So you look for that in a critique too. A critique doesn't mean that, oh, I didn't like this, or why did he do that? A critique can also be, oh, I like what you did here, do more of that, or something like that. So that was actually one of the most important things that I learned, not to be scared of critique. Don't fear the red.
Okay. Who's your favorite author to read in your downtime?
Oh, that's no.
Wait a minute, are you cursing at her? I'm sorry. Did I hear some profanity? Where is the swear jar?
No, I didn't say anything. I don't cuss. I didn't cuss.
No, she cussed at you. Downtime. That is not something that authors, that's a cuss word.
Oh, downtime. Oh. Yeah, I don't have downtime. Right now, I'm reading a lot of hardcore sci-fi. I'm a little bit like Kasana in that, because I write fantasy, and I actually read a lot of fantasy works, but I haven't read a lot of fantasy romance lately. I've been reading more hardcore sci-fi and a lot of apocalyptic stories, which is kind of crazy since we're living in an apocalyptic world. But I try to get out of my head. I try to get away from the romance genre and just read something else so I can come back and, start writing in my worlds. But so right now, let's see, one of my favorites right now, and these are apocalyptic books, would be, let's see, I think Jack Hunt. I like his stuff. A.G. Riddle, that's another one that I'm reading. Justin Bell and Mike Cross. Those are all apocalyptic dystopian novels.
When did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
First time I got a hold of a crayon. Oh, seriously, I started writing before I realized what I was doing. I was one of those people that I would hear a story, read a story, watch a show, and I would rewrite it in my head. I would change the endings. I've always been that way. Even I used to be an attorney in another life. And so writing, I've always written. One of my briefs, one of the opposing counsels said that it was a work of fiction. My argument was a work of fiction. Well, it was good fiction because the judge agreed with me, so it works.
Deborah Mitchell asks, will there be more on the Redemption and Lost God series?
Redemption series, yes, most definitely. That's going to be probably a 5-book series. I think I'm 3 books in, so at least 2 more, definitely, because I've got to get to Adam's story. And Adam's story is still 2 books away. As far as Lost Gods, that one is pretty finished because Lost Gods was really Zeus's story and it was his quest, and his quest was completed. But I do have in the back of my head, I want to do a Lost Goddesses series. So to focus on female goddesses. So maybe Hera's story might be coming.
What are you currently working on?
Right now, I am working on Wildfire, which is the 2nd book to the Wild Child. And I'm also working on the 2nd book in the Defiance series, Quiet Strength. And I'm also working on a secret project.
Okay. Look, does the tribe have any questions for LaVerne? I don't want to hog it all.
First, I'm going to share your screen because I want to get you a little you time in here about your book really quickly. And I will tell a little bit about you myself. And I thank you for, I know we had a discussion. We weren't sure if you were going to, but I'm so glad you pushed through to come and be a part of the cavalcade, because you've been a part of the cavalcade for the last, oh my God, 6, 7, 8. Oh, the red ball at the South Loop. That was one of the first ones I remember from you, but I'm sure you were there before then. So this is one of your latest, Night of South Holland, cover design by J.L. Woodson. Yes, indeed. And also a little bit about what, let me share this one. LaVerne's got her one out, the latest one. He's handsome. That's a handsome little dude. Okay, stop share. Okay, so Any tribe questions before we wrap this up?
LaVerne, how do you straddle all of what you do? I mean, is it that you write, you have separate times for writing this genre and that genre, or do you just write as they come to you?
Well, I write as they come to me. I think it's one reason I don't have, other than because of COVID, I really don't have writer's block, because I will start under, and Ursula has a completely different voice. First of all, I tend to write in first person when I write under Ursula, and a lot of it is new adults, so there's a lot of angst. So I will write until I get to a point where I need to really think about what comes next, and I'll shut everything down and I'll move over to one of my fantasy books. And it's great because a lot of Ursula is contemporary, and LaVerne is more romantic fantasy and urban fantasy. I'm getting more and more into the urban fantasy genre. So I don't have any trouble doing that. And I think it's because the way my brain is wired and the way I was trained, because as a lawyer, you got to handle a lot of different cases. I mean, I handled 50 cases a week. So writing 2 or 3 books, I usually have 2 or 3 documents open. That's nothing. I could do that. I compartmentalize. It's easy for me.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in here while everybody's getting more questions together for LaVerne. I just want to tell a little bit about Karen. Karen is one of they say we have some shy people in the tribe. She's the quietest person in the tribe. It's always the quiet ones you got to watch out for. Because remember, I talked about on Brandy Massey's session, his segment, where I said there are several people in this world I would never want to piss off. Karen is one of those, because if you've ever seen her thriller horror writing, yeah, beast mode. But what she also is she's the equalizer for the Kings of the Castle series and the Knights of the Castle series. And she gets to read everything. Even when she was at her feeling her lowest, she wants to read everything, put her eyes on it, and she'll say, this character isn't realistic. It isn't realistic for her to become a badass, and there's no training there. Unless she kind of points out the things that don't make sense. And here's the thing, she doesn't always want to hurt anybody's feelings. And she'll say, well, I think the readers will like it. I think the readers will like it. And it took me a minute because she kept saying that. And I was like, then I finally, okay, I was a little slow on the uptake. What the hell does that mean? She says, I have a problem with this, 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 and this, and this. I'm like, what? That's what you're reading it for. You're supposed to tell us these things before we go to press. And the readers pick that apart and say that. So there's been times in the series is a team effort. I'll toss a couple of chapters her way because she's good at suspense and those race against time and those heart pounding scenes that she'll either write them for the series or she will look over what we've done to figure out what works, that sort of thing. Stephanie Freeman is a person that we give to put the darkest characters together. I'm talking about slow slinging, baby. They can do the doggone thing, but Karen she remembers details. She'll remember that we're almost on book 15, and she'll remember that in book 2. No, you can't say that because in book 2 you did XYZ. She remembers the details and things that doesn't quite stick out. She's an awesome, awesome, awesome writer. So tell us where we can find your work. You can see some of her stuff right behind her.
You can find most of my work and the links to it on my website, KarenDBradley.com. And I'm on social media at Twitter and IG at Miss_K Bradley.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. LaVerne, where can we find you? And you might as well say where we can find Ursula, because I misunderstood that was, well, anyway. Where can we find LaVerne? Because Ursula, we'll talk. If Ursula can't do it, Olivia Gaines, we got you. Tribe is here. So tell us where we can find LaVerne. And if you're going to be here tomorrow, you can, if you're not going to be here tomorrow, tell us where we can find Ursula Sinclair.
I could probably, I have to check the time, but I can probably do it. Under LaVerne, you can find, well, if you find LaVerne, you can find Ursula, because I don't hide them. And there's a link on, you can go to my website, LaVerneThompson.com, and almost all of my links are, well, yeah, almost all of my links are on there. You can find me on Facebook. You probably can't friend me on my my profile page, but I do have a group page, and it's called LaVerne's News, so you can join that. That's it.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Karen, is there anything you want to say?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you guys so much. I got to give props to you, for Cavalcade, and to you for, allowing me to be a part of this and everything else that you guys are doing. It's awesome. I'm so proud of you.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much. It's been a lesson. This is a learning experience. Like I said, we had so many people. When the last I checked, it was 1,000 over the course of all of the events that we had. It was 1,046. And the transition from Eventbrite to Zoom, I think people got confused on having to get the secure link from Zoom, because we couldn't upload the list to Zoom because it's a recurring event. Otherwise, we would have had to do one event per day and several emails each time, and people would have, this was a logistical nightmare, but it was still a beautiful thing.
Well, my daughter is on here. She's one of the attendees. She's listening in, but she was having trouble getting on, but she's on.
Awesome.
Texted me to let me know she got on, so it's all good.
She wants to come see mommy. All right then. All right. Okay. So we're going to, I see Nakia has made it here. Let's see where Anna is. I thought she
looks like Anna's here too.
She is? Okay. So Anna, because you guys are doing this together, we're going to talk about both of you guys so we can wrap you guys up and get to Shakir, and then we're going to get to the games. I want to drop a link if people are still here for the games. We're going to drop a link for everybody to choose a team. So I need you guys, tribe, I need you to text the other tribe members who aren't here, or look to see who's in the panel to let them know we're going to put them on screen for library card revoke. And then I'm going to drop a link in the chat for the readers who want to play along, for them to choose a team A, B, C, or D, because the winners of that particular team are the ones that get the gifts sent to them if your team wins. So that's what all of those questions are. I haven't even seen the questions, so I don't know. I'm blind to them as well. So there is that. Thank you so much, LaVerne. Any parting words for any questions left from the tribe?
I think I got a lot of questions this morning.
Yes, that was a powerful question to ask. Why is that on the cover? I thought that was an awesome question.
Well, I would just like to tag one last thing, because I didn't get a chance to say it because it was so quick. The other reason is because when I first started doing this, there weren't a lot of black female models for us to be able to choose from the stock images, and a lot of my covers were custom covers. And even then, it was still difficult to find Black models, that would do covers, that did custom covers with the white models. And there were very few white male models available back then that were actually doing covers with Black models. And I don't want to name the one person that used to do it, because
but we do know the one that's on My King of Arabia and Loving Me for Me.
Well, that's my favorite. That is absolutely Vikas. Vikas he's absolutely one of my favorite. And I actually switched out another model to put him on my my Sea Bride cover. He's now on my Sea Bride.
I was like, I don't remember him being on there in the beginning. So
he is now. He wasn't, but he is now. But that was also another reason why there are only men on my covers for the most part.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, thank you. It was great.